Hi everyone, Salesforce integration training day 21. Let's see what are we going to learn today. Today we will see Salesforce to Salesforce integration. Salesforce to Salesforce integration. That means my client is Salesforce as well as server is also a Salesforce. Server is also a Salesforce. Both are Salesforce. So when both are Salesforce, if I wanted to communicate between these two, that means, for example, this server is receiving a lead. Server is receiving a lead from the third party system. Assume that here we have a third party system. From the third party system, we are receiving the lead. When we receive the lead and the same data, we wanted to pass it to the client. We wanted to pass it to the client. Now, what are the leads are coming from third-party system or from which are the places the leads are generated? Those leads are created, should be created in the server and at the same time, it should be sending to the client. Now, there are multiple ways to implement this. Now, first one is I can use a data loader. I can use data loader because both are Salesforce. Both are Salesforce. So what I can do is one way is I can export the data from CSV file. I can export the data in CSV file using the data loader. I can push it to the Salesforce or else. The another way is implementing the integration. I need to implement an integration between these two Salesforce. These two Salesforce, I need to implement an integration. Now, without this, I do not want to implement an integration. I do not want to implement a even data loader also. I do not want because if I wanted to implement an integration, I need to write a REST API class, all those things which we have to write it. Now, apart from this, anyway, both are Salesforce. Now, apart from these two, is there any other way which we can implement a integration between the two or when we have a client and server both are Salesforce? So that's what we are going to see today. Salesforce to Salesforce. Salesforce to Salesforce. Now, client is a Salesforce as well as server is also Salesforce. Now, in case if I wanted to implement a integration between the Salesforce to Salesforce, what are the steps that we have to take it? What are the steps that we have to go for it? Now, it is a feature that allows to share the data within the Salesforce.com organization. Now we need to identify the feature that allows you to share the data to another Salesforce.com organization. That means we need to create a connection that allows to publish as well as subscribe the each other's objects, fields for virtually and type of a record. That means now I need to implement some connection between these two Salesforce. I need to implement a connection between these two in order to publish and subscribe the each other data, whether it could be a from client to server, server to client, right? So I wanted to let's see from the client to server. So from the client to server or a server, what if the server is receiving the lead data? Now that lead data, same thing, I wanted to get into the client. Now, for it, so in order to do that, first of all, we need to enable steps, four steps which we have to follow. Four steps we have to follow. First step is we need to enable the Salesforce to Salesforce in both org. We need to enable Salesforce to Salesforce in both the organization. In both the organization. That means the first step is client Salesforce, server Salesforce. In both the Salesforce, I need to enable Salesforce to Salesforce connection. I need to enable Salesforce to Salesforce connection. Now, how can we enable the Salesforce to Salesforce connection? Let's see that. Now, let's go ahead and see. Now, I have it one org. Now, this is it. Samskar ID 1327, Samskar ID 1327. Samskar ID 1327, and I also have another org which is Samskar ID 2. Assume that Samskar ID 2 is a client. Now here, if you go to the setup and search for Salesforce to Salesforce. Let's switch it to the classic. Let me go to the classic. And the other org also, I'll switch it to the classic. Now, in the client side, let's open the client. Now here I have a client, and let's click on a setup. Once we click on a setup, now here I need to find Salesforce to Salesforce. Let's search here Salesforce. Salesforce to Salesforce setting. Salesforce to Salesforce setting. Click on this Salesforce to Salesforce setting. And what it says, it is saying that Salesforce to Salesforce lets you share the record with the business partner that uses the Salesforce. That means if other side also the technology or the org is a Salesforce, what it does basically, if I enable it, now once I enable, it will allow you to share the data with the another Salesforce, So click on enable. Let's click on edit. Now here one thing which is showing here, enabling the Salesforce to Salesforce is not a reversible. That means once I enable this, I cannot reverse. Once I enable, I cannot reverse it. But you can control the information you share to the connection to which are the or you are sharing the details, but you can control it. But this you cannot disable it. Once it is enabled, that's it. You cannot disable it. And you can stop the sharing, modify your sharing settings and anytime. That options we can do it. Let's say I'm enabling it, click on save. Click on save. Now once it is saved, it takes 2 minutes. Now here it is created the enable and the created by, this is the created by and the modified by from address, which talks about the who is the from email address and who is the from email name and invitation template. That means there is a invitation template that goes out. There is a invitation template that goes out. What is this invitation template? Now here if you open this invitation template, it's an email template. So it says that dear connection XML, whatever the first name, last name is that this is the data. But in case if you wanted to modify the email template, you can modify it. You can modify the email template. There is an invitation that goes out. For the deactivation template, so in case if you want the deactivation template, it will go out. Accept invitation template. If you are accepting the invitation template, that time there is an email that goes out. Rejecting the invitation. So everything we have an email template from the starting of invitation template to the till the update connection profile. Till the update connection profile. Now, once I enable this, now if I go to the plus button, let me open this. Now here we can see one object which is called as a connection. One object which is called as a connection. Initially it won't be available, connection won't be available. Now let me show you in the other org. We need to enable the connection both the sides, from the server as well as the client. Now I'll click on the setup. Now before that, let me show you the connection. Now we do not have a connection at all. Now there is a connection option is not available. connection option is not available. Now let me go to the Salesforce to Salesforce. Salesforce to Salesforce settings. Salesforce to Salesforce setting. And let's click on edit button here. No, that's fine. We'll click on enable. We'll click on enable. Now click on save. Now once we click on save, here also the email templates will be enabled. Now here we have a bharati@samskarit.com. This is the email address. And now if I refresh, now it was not having the connection. Now if I refresh here, now you will see there is a new object which is called as a connection. New object which is called as a connection. These connections will be enabled only when we enable the Salesforce to Salesforce. This setup is enabled, then only we can see this connection. Then only we can see the connection. Otherwise, we cannot see the information. Now, once we enable the connection, once we both the sites we have enabled in the Samskar ID 1327 as well as another org which is Samskar ID 2, which is Samskar ID 2. Both of them which we have received both of them has a connection. Both of them have a connection. Now that is the first step. Enable the Salesforce to Salesforce in both the org. Enable the Salesforce to Salesforce in both the org. Now, second thing is I need to set up a connection between Salesforce to Salesforce. I need to set up the here it is. I need to set up the connection between the Salesforce to Salesforce. That means now the connection is enabled in both the org. Now, right now I am into the Samskar ID. Now, what I'll do is I'll click on the connections. I'll click on collections. Connections, I'll click on it. When I click on the connection, now we have it two tabs here. One is a connection tab and the next one is a template tab. One is a connection tab and the next one is a template tab. Now, before creating the connection, we need to have a template. Before creating the connection, we need to have a template. So let's click on the new template. Let's assume this is a Salesforce to Salesforce. Salesforce to Salesforce. And let's activate it. I'm activating it. Now let's click on save. Now once I click on save, now the next thing which talks about, now I enable the connection. Now whenever we are enabling the connection, the first thing is that between the two org. Now here I have one org here, another org is there. Now what is the data that I need to send it between these two? Which one I need to publish it and which one I need to enable? Now we have created a template here in the line. We have created the template details. I have created the template. Now through this template, what are the objects I am going to supposed to send it? What are the objects I am going to send it? So which is decided in the template itself. Now once we create a template, here you have a published objects. So click on this publish. Now when you click on a publish, it is going to give you the list of objects that are available, including the custom object. Let's say that, for example, I wanted to send account, cases, and then hiring manager, lead, hiring manager, lead, and then we can say product or opportunity. So these are the information which I wanted to send it. These are the objects which I wanted to send from this Samskar IT2 to the another org, the server org. Click on save. Now template is why we are creating a template, because we need what are the data that we are sending it. Now it takes about in account what are the data that we are sending it, only account name, and in case only subject, in hiring manager only hiring manager. But I wanted to include few more details along with the account name. So click on edit button, click on edit button. Now let's say that I wanted to send few more details here. Let's say account rating and account type, as well as I wanted to check active industry, right? So, and what else we need? So that's it. So these are the data I wanted to send, maybe website. So here it says select the fields to publish. Select a select the fields to publish after the object and their fields are published and subscribed to, you can share the reports with your connection, update the shared report and send automatically. Now I'll click on a save button and click on save button. Now once I click on a save button, now I can see here there are 6 fields which are included as part of the account. That means whenever we are sending the account, these fields will be sent. Now similarly, if I wanted, for example, I want the case fields. Similarly, I want the case fields which I wanted to send it. Now for example, I wanted to send the case number and case reason, let's say case type, let's say name and status and the priority, right? So these are the information which we can send it. Click on save. Similarly, other object also we can do it. Similarly, other object also we can do it. Right now we have done it for the case. Similarly, hiring manager. Hiring manager will not be available in the other org. It won't be available in the org. So I'll just take a name only, and then I'm going to take lead. So in the lead, I'm going to take the information of, let's say, lead country, lead description, lead email, lead first name, and industry, right? So that's all. Phone number and status. Now click on it, save. Click on save. Now once this is done, now we have a lead also done. Opportunity, we are doing the close date, name and stage. In case product also I wanted to do it. Product also I wanted to do it. Product active, product code, product description, product family. Let's click on save. Now we are done with updating the objects. That means what are the objects which we are publishing it, we are including the fields. We are including the object as well as the how many fields we wanted to send it to the other system. How many fields we wanted to send it to the other system. So these information which we have done it. Now what I'll do is I'll click on back to template. Now my template is ready. Now my template is ready. So what I'll do is I'll click on it, connection. Now new connection. Now it is asking the contact details. Who is the contact? Like I enter the contact at your organization. You wanted to share the record with your using the Salesforce to Salesforce. Whoever is the contact could be it. So let's take a contact which is in. I need to take the contact. Let's take the Swapna Salesforce. No, but I wanted to check what is the Swapna Salesforce. No, the contact also will be there when we enable. So let's click on Salesforce to Salesforce. Now here it is the Samskara ID. Now there is a one email with this is the email that goes to the whenever we create a new invitation. Now this email which will goes to the that email ID. So I need to check contact Swapna Salesforce. Now I have a samskarati@gmail.com. So once we create this, what will happen? Automatically the account name is automatically captured and the contact owner is also automatically captured. And then template, I need to choose a template. Now let's say here template is Salesforce to Salesforce. Template is Salesforce to Salesforce. Now let's click on save. Now we have created the connection. Save and send invite. Save and send the invite. Now there is an invite info. Now here if you see connection status, invitation sent on 7/2/2023, 7:24, 13 a.m. Connection features are template, Salesforce to Salesforce, and then contact is this one, email address is samskarat@gmail.com, account is iteratable batch 12, and our company is represented DEC batch, and below is the object. Below is the object, these are the published, and then connection history is this is the invitation sent to Swapna Salesforce. This is the email ID. Now let me go ahead and check the email ID. Now here I have received an email ID. It says Dear Swapna. So DEC batch at Samskar ID has invited you to connect using the Salesforce to Salesforce. A Salesforce feature that allows you to records to be shared between the organization. Records to be shared between the organization to accept or decline this invitation. You need certain Salesforce privileges, and your company Salesforce account must have a Salesforce to Salesforce. That means whichever the org we are thinking on is that org also should have a information. That org also should have a information, and you can apply the trial account if you are not sure where you have connected, where you can connect it. And to respond this invitation, just click on this. Once the connection is active, you can start sharing the records, update the share the records automatically synced. That means every time whenever we create a record, I need not to do any kind of an integration. Right, whenever it is created or updated, I can just by using the button, I can send it. Just by using the button, I can send the information. Now here it says login.salesforce.com. Now this is the URL it is giving, right? Now let's copy this. Now let's go to the here. Click on this login.salesforce. Now here I am going to keep the credentials of Bharati. And then July 2023. Click on login. Now it is open now. Now it is directly opened in this the other or it directly opened invitation received. Invitation received. What was it was showing there? Invitation sent. There it was showing as an invitation sent, and here invitation is received. Invitation is received 7/2/2023, 7:27:28 a.m. PDT. Right now here we have a company Samskar IT, name is a DVC, and email address is samskarid@gmail.com. @gmail.com. Now here either you can accept it, you can decline it, you can decide later. You can decide later. Now it says that Samskar IT has invited your company to connect. If you accept the invitation, you can share the information to the information on certain records between your companies. The connection can be deactivated by either side at any time. At any time, it can be deactivated. So here, let me say here I'm accepting it and accepting the invitation. Once I click on accept invitation, now connection is activated. Your published objects are now available. And for a subscription by the Samskar ID. Now, who is published? Published by other org. This is published it. This is published. These are the object. Now I need to subscribe it. In order to subscribe, click on this subscribe in the other org. Whoever is the receiver is there in that org. I'm going to say account and the case hiring manager. If I have any hiring manager, no, I don't have hiring manager. So lead for hiring manager. Let's click on a lead and the opportunity and the product. Now the hiring manager I do not have, so I'll leave that hiring manager. Now these are the objects: account, Samskar IT object, account, and this org object is account. Samskar IT object is hiring manager, and if you wanted to give it as a maybe department, let's keep the department. Now this is the department in this object. Lead from the Samskar IT object, and in this object it is a opportunity. So it says that select objects you wanted to subscribe to. Select the objects that you wanted to subscribe to. Now standard objects. What are the standard objects? Are automatically mapped between the organization. What are the standard objects are there? Those are automatically mapped between the organization. Custom objects can be mapped to other custom object. Right? So that is hiring manager. For you receive this. For you to receive a report from standard connection, the connection must publish the reports object type and forward the records to your organization. After a record is shared, updates are sent automatically. Click on this auto accept. I'm just clicking on this auto accept. For department hiring manager, I'm not doing the auto accept. For account to account, auto accept. Case to case, auto accept. Lead to lead, auto accept. Opportunity to opportunity, auto accept. And the product to product, auto accept. Then click on the save button. Now once it is saved, now let's click on save. Now here is the object subscribed. Click edit to select the field to subscribe for each object. Right? So what it is saying that here it is saying that now you need to select the fields. Now so far we have created the account name. Now click on edit. Let's say account rating should be account rating, account type. This side are Samskar ID fields and this side are current org fields. Active, there should be active, industry, website, and we have a website. Now these are the object. Account rating, connecting to account rating, and then account type. Within the org, account type. Active field from the other org to this org active. Similarly, Here industry, and here if you see for the pick list, it is showing the edit values. For pick list, it is showing the edit values. So this edit values, or if you click on the edit values, or if you wanted to match this also, hot, warm, cold. Click on OK. Similarly, type prospect, customer direct, customer channel partner, reseller, and installation partner, technology partner, and then other. Let's click on other, click on OK. And let's click on active. No means no. Yes means yes. Click on OK. Similarly, the last one is industry. Agriculture, apparel, banking, technology, chemical, communication, construction, consulting, education. So we need to map all these things. Electronics, let's say energy and engineering, entertainment, environmental, finance, food and beverage is not there here, so I'll leave it alone. Now here I have it, government. Now healthcare, hospitality, insurance, and it just now click on other, utilities, transcription, transportation, telecommunication, technology, shipping, retail, recreation, non-profit, media, and manufacturing. Now click on OK. Click on OK. Now we have selected all these fields. Now here auto map it. In case if you wanted to auto map, you can click on this auto map. Now click on save. Similarly, we can do it case. Case we have selected. Case number. Let's click on auto map. Now case number we do not have. That's okay. And case reason edit. Installation. Performance breakdown. Design feedback and other. Click on OK. Case type should be a case type, and mechanical, electronic, structural, other. Click on OK, and then priority, high, medium, low. Click on OK, and then status, new, working, escalated, closed. So like this, you can set up for which are the object you wanted. You can set that object details. You can set up the object details you can set up for a department, lead, opportunity, product. Now here department is a different. Now from the client we are getting the hiring manager name. Now it is taking the department. Click on cancel. Now like this, you have to enable the which fields you wanted to map it. Which fields you wanted to map it. Now here 727, change the connection status from none specified to the invitation received. And 728, we have accepted from the received. It says connection status is active since 7/2/2023, 7:28:54 a.m. PDT. So that is the time we have activated. That is the time we have activated. Now, the subscription is happened. Now, if you look at our steps, The first one is enable the Salesforce to Salesforce. Both the org is completed. Setting up the connection between the Salesforce to Salesforce. Yes, this is also completed. And publish the object in Salesforce to Salesforce. Yes, I have published it from the Samskar IT 2. And then I am able to subscribe the objects and the fields in other org. Whatever the server org is there, in that org, I am able to do that. Perfect. Now what I'll do is from the, let's go here. Now if we have here, let's go to the accounts. Let's go to the accounts. Now let's click on all accounts, all customers. Now if you see here right now 42 records are there. 42 records are there. So I'm going to create a one account in the Samskar IT2 org. Now let's click on accounts. Let's say click on new. I'm going to create a customer account. Click on continue. Let's say here I'm going to create a SF connect and account number SF1003. Rating is, let's say, hot, and website is www.salesforce.com. Type prospect industry agriculture. What else we are sending it? Let's make it duplicate. Let's go back. Now go back. Now here we have a account type, rating, active, industry, website. Fine. So active, let's say yes. Active, let's say yes. Now these are the records which are creating it. Let's click on this. Let's click on save. Now we have created the Connect. SF Connect record which I have created. Now let's go back to the accounts. All accounts. Now total we have 76 records. Total we have 76 records. Now the one which we have created is SF Connect. SF Connect. Click on this SF Connect. Now this SF Connect is, it's not there in another org. In another org, it's not there. Now let's say here, where is the SF? Click on S. Now say SF Connect. Select this SF Connect. Forward to connection. You will see this button. Previously, this button was not there. Previously, this button was not there. Now you will see this button newly created because we have enabled the Salesforce to Salesforce connection. Now we have this button. Click on this, select this SF Connect and click on forward to connection. Which connection? Samskar ID. Samskar ID connection. Now include cases or related, send a notification. You wanted to send any notification, you can send it, or if you wanted to send the related case opportunity, also you can send it. For now, let's go ahead and send this to the Samskar ID. Right, so right now I'm clicked on the send notification email. Send notification email. This is a new invites only. This is basically new invites email. Select the connection or a connection that can accept this record. That can accept this record. Now here it says that you can only forward the record that you and your Subordinates only. System administrator can forward all the records. System administrator can forward all the records. Now click on save. Click on save. Now once I click on save, I will be receiving an email. Let's open the Gmail account. Here it says you have assigned following action: selling checklist. Here to access the item action, and there is a flow error. Okay, here is the one. And there is a here it says that there is a flow error which is happened on the duplicate value record form. Now this is fine. Now Bharati, I have connected to the new, so I have received the email from Bharati saying that dear DC, Bharati Desi at Samskar IT has accepted your invitation to connect in Salesforce to Salesforce. You can now share the records with each other. You can share the records with each other. Now let's go ahead and see whether we have received in the Samskar ID 1327. Click on accounts, click on all customers. S. Now here is the one SF connect one. SF connect one. Now it says that this account is externally shared. It was received from Samskar IT. It was received from Samskar IT. Your company's Salesforce to Salesforce connection is on from 7 to 2023. Now here is the one SF connect, and it says your browser privacy settings having, because I have opened in the incognito, so that's the reason it is giving this information. Website and active, all those informations which I have received. All those information I have received it. Now this is how we are able to receive the information. We are able to receive the information. Now exactly same information is available in the other org. Now if I go to the other org, now here account SF connect one. SF connect one. Now in case, now here it is SF connect one, but in this org it doesn't say whether this record is shared with another Salesforce or not, right? So in whoever is receiving it, the receiver is able to explain it, this account is externally shared. But whoever is sending it, that org does not say anywhere whether this record is shared or not. So in that case, what we will do is we will go to the edit layout, click on edit layout. Once we click on the edit layout, go to the related list. In the related list, you have a something called external sharing. Now drop this external sharing here. And this list is cannot be customized. Salesforce is handling it. You can just drag that external sharing, but you cannot modify apart from that. You cannot modify apart from that. Now, if I click on the save button, now below it says that external sharing. Now it is active. We are sharing this with the connection Samskar ID. Connection owner is DEC, right? And this is the information. It is still active. It is still sharing the information. It is still sharing the information. Now, if I go to the Salesforce connect or the connection, now let's go to the connection. Let's open the connection here. Now let's open this. Now history, it says that what it is saying, that I am in the Samskar IT. I am in the Samskar IT. But what it is saying here, Bharati Deshu is change the connection status from invitation sent to invitation pending decision, and Bharati is change pending to the decision active. These are the updates that happened. Still the right now account is still on sharing. For example, let me change this rating part to the code. Click on save. Once I click on is save. Now it is still in the sharing. Now let me go to the another or right now it is showing the rating. It will take some time. But what we need to do is right now I have made a changes there. Right now I have made a changes. It is active right now. In case if you want to stop sharing, you can stop it. For example, right now I have updated this rating to the code. Right. So forward this account. Samskar ID, click on it, save. One more time I have to send it. Okay, so let's go ahead and see. Click on refresh. Now it is updated to the rating code. Now it is updated to the rating code. So these are the 4 steps which are needed in order to instead of writing the integration, if you want to enable the integration between the two Salesforce org, right? So if you are dealing with the objects and fields, what you can do is you can directly enable the Salesforce to Salesforce. And whenever there is a change is happened, either you need to, once a record is created, you need to select this record in the account, select the record, go to the all customer, let's say BMW. So let's say this is the one. I am into the 1327. Now let's go to the my or let's say here accounts, all account, cancel. Now 100 ATM is there. This 100 ATM is not there in here. 100 ATM is not there. Now if I click on this, forward the connection. Available connection is Samskar ID, send it and click on save. And here refresh. It takes some time. I have received an email. Fine, let's refresh. Now here it is 100 ATM is received. 100 ATM is received. Now if I open this, right? So Bharati ATM, banking. Now this account is externally shared. It was received. Your company Salesforce to Salesforce connection is 7 to 2023 is enabled. Fine. So here it is saying that you are receiving the information. This is the org. Because I have opened from the incognito, so that's the reason it is giving an error. That's totally fine. So these are the reports which we are receiving. So like this, Salesforce to Salesforce, we can deal with without an integration, we can implement it. Without an integration, we can implement Salesforce to Salesforce connection and then send the objects and their fields data from one org to another org. That's about the Salesforce to Salesforce. Now let's move on to this we have already seen. Let's move on to the next one, which is called as a named credentials. Named credentials. Now, what is this named credentials? Why do we need a named credentials? What is the purpose of it? Now, if you remember when we are doing the REST call, when we are doing the remote site settings. Now, in the remote site settings, we were giving the just a URL, and then within the code, we used to give a username, password, and connected app, connected key and a secret, right? So these are the connection key and a secret. Whatever the options are there, we used to give all these information just to know the authentication, to get a authentication, right? So here, in order to get a authentication, I need to implement a separate code by using the username, password, consumer key and consumer secret, and then URL, all those information I need to specify it, then we have to get the authentication. But instead of using all this, like we are giving the URL here, and again we are doing the authentication, which is a OAuth. Instead of doing this OAuth authentication from the code, so what we can do is we can use the named credentials. By using the named credentials, we can make a call out to the external system without supplying the username and password. We can make call out to the external system without supplying the username and password. And the named credential specifies the URL of callout endpoint and its required authentication parameter in one definition. You need not to again define into the code. You need not to define again into the code. So how you are going to define it, the syntax will be for a name syntax to use the named credentials. What we have to use is we have to use callout named credentials name. What are the named credentials name is there? That named credentials name and callout URL of external system. Callout URL of external system. Now this is how we have to mention. I need not to write a 10 lines of code which we used to write it for the remote site setting. We need not to write it. So we just need to use the callout named credentials name and then callout URL of the external system. So if you see in the documentation, the Salesforce which is provided, now if you search a named credentials as a callout, now here, now named credentials as an external, no. It says that to simplify the setup of an authentication callout. So in remote site setting, what we used to do is we used to just give a URL, whitelist a URL, and then all the authentication we used to do it from the code. So that's the reason we have to write it multiple times HTTP initialization and calling the org, all those things. But in order to simplify the authentication callout, we can use the named credentials. So named connection to a external system. So named credentials, example, Amazon crime, and looks up to the what it does. If I create an Amazon crime, it will look up to the external credentials. So for example, named principal using the AWS site code. It is look for this external system, and then this external system is mapped to the permission set, which is called as a make a video call or something. and then it also have a user credentials. So named credential is just looking for the external credentials, but external system is already having the user credentials and permissions and everything is associated it. Right? So indirectly we will be getting the all the username, consumer key, consumer secret, everything we can get it. And if you see the documentation of the Salesforce here, one more documentation, article, named credentials article. Now, in this documentation, now named credentials are supported in this type of a callout definition. We can also use the named credentials for the Apex callout, external data source, external services, right? And this is the example callout colon named credentials name, and then what are the URL of the external system is there? Callout URL of the external system that we need to specify it here. Right, so this is the how the data will be there. So if you want to create, edit external system, everything is written here. Everything is implemented. So we will see the example next week, but today just understand the named credentials. Now, by using this, so now we know that named credentials, by using this, I can make a call out to the endpoint, and to simplify the authentication, we have to use the named credentials. And then what is the difference between the remote site setting and named credentials? Remote site settings are specifies the URL of a call out endpoint. I just specify the URL to do the whitelist. Whereas in the named credentials, you will specify the URL and its required authentication in a single definition. In a single definition. Now, whenever you wanted to create a named credentials, click on a setup. Let's say here named credentials. Click on named credentials. Now click on new named credentials. You need to specify the URL here, which we were doing it in the remote site setting. Along with this URL, we need to provide an authentication. We need to provide an authentication. Instead of doing in the code, I can directly do it here. Like identified type would be a named credentials. If it is a named credentials OAuth 2.0, or you just want a password authentication or AWS signature version 4, right? Or if you want per user, right? If it is a per user, maybe password authentication. If it is a password authentication, then I need a username and password, or if I say anonymous, if it is a anonymous, no authentication is required. And we need a certificate. We will see that how to load it. Along with the authentication, you can also have a call out options. We also have a call out options. Now here we have a few things which is called a generate authorization header. Generate authorization header. Let me show you this. Let's search this. Named credentials. Right, so here we have a custom header and body suffix callout. So in this, if you see generate authorization header, so by default, Salesforce generates an authorization header and it applies to each call out that refers to a named credentials. So if you enable this, it will automatically authorize the authorization header happens and it will apply to the each one of them. The next one is a allow merge field in the HTTP header. In case if you wanted to allow in each Apex callout, the what are the code specifies how the HTTP header and request body are constructed. For example, the Apex code can set the value of the cookies and authorization header in case if you wanted to do the merge fields in the header. Similarly, allow the merge fields in the HTTP body. So in case if you wanted to add the request body with org data with the callout is made, whenever the callout is made, if you wanted to update with the merge fields, you can enable this. And the next one is an outbound network connection. So this is outbound network connection. Basically, if you click on this, it will take you to the connections, the outbound network connections. Now we will see that later. So those are the options. Along with the URL, we are also providing the authentication because that is required in a single definition. Remote site settings is management of a authentication needs to manually done by Apex developer where it is required. That means authentication developer has to implement within the code. Whereas named credentials, Salesforce manages all the authentication. Developer need not to do the authentication. If you remember last couple of sessions, we were doing the HTTP multiple times because first I need to get a authentication and then actual request should go out. Right? So here in the named credentials, Salesforce is automatically takes care of it. And the third one is maintenance is a difficult if any change occurs in the future. That means if in case consumer key or a consumer secret is modified in the server or in the whoever is receiving it, now that side the server side the client side the consumer key and consumer secret is modified. In that case, we need to modify the code. The code is in the production. If you wanted to modify the code, first we need to make a changes in the developer or then we have to shift it to the production. So which will take at least 1 day of time. So it is a lot of difficulty is there. Whereas here named credentials, in case if there are any changes from the other third party system, maintenance is easy at single point of change. So admin can also change it, client can also change it there. And remote site settings implementation varied based on the authentication required for each remote site settings. Every remote site settings you need to do that authentication and it will be varied from based on the remote site settings, it will be varied. Whereas named credentials are irrespective of the authentication. Irrespective of the authentication, selected implementation remains the same. Remains the same. No, these are the differences between the remote site settings and named credentials. Now next week we will implement one of the scenario. We'll see one of the scenario to implement. You might have heard about the Bitly. There is a one third party app which is called as a Bitly. So by using this Bitly, we will be doing the integration. By using this Bitly, we will be doing the integration. So there we will use the named credential and also we will see the AWS S3. Also, we will see AWS S3. So next week we will see this integration. Once we are done with the Bitly and also we will do one more integration, then we will go for the AWS S3. So these three projects are left. One is with Bitly, real-time project. Another one which we will do it with the different, maybe some third-party system. One more we will do it, and then AWS S3 integration we will do it. AWS S3 is the last integration. So that's all for today.